Hello to all my BPTV fans, YouTube fans, new fans, and fans of my great guest. I'm Alan Levine, the Talking Machine. This is my 37th Talking Machine show. I have another great guest for you. Please tell us your name.
My name is Andre Weisbrod, but that's my middle name, Andre, and I foul up the computers because my first name is John.
I appreciate those insights, my friend. We've been friends for about 10 years, and he can out-talk the Talking Machine. So we're going to start this interview. I already concede. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Mount Lebanon here in Pittsburgh.
Okay. Where'd you go to grade school?
Markham.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just I like to go back. And then you made it all the way to Bethel Park High School, Mount Lebanon.
Mount Lebanon
Scratch
High School.
that out there.
That's
Mount Lebanon High School was on your destiny.
That was it, yeah.
And did you play sports?
I did. I was an All-American swimmer.
Nice. What got you into swimming?
Well, it was a way for my parents to deal with my ADD. They didn't know what to call it at that time. They just called me hyperactive.
Sure.
And so
you could focus on that.
I became the youngest person to ever compete in the AAU in
How old was that?
1954 when I was 5.
You got to be kidding.
And so I've been swimming competitively and otherwise ever since.
What happened in high school with swimming?
Just had some great teammates. We were state champions in the relay.
I like to bring that out, being a sports guy.
Yeah. We had a record that lasted for I think 26 years.
What was it?
State year record for the medley relay.
Wow! Congrats.
Yeah, and went to invitational meets in Florida and all of those kinds of things. So it was a great time. It was a great experience.
Right. How were your grades?
It depended on the course.
Okay.
If I wanted to, I could
Because
get
with
an
ADD or ADHD, there's different focus issues.
Yeah, anything less than a C was not acceptable in our household. So if I didn't like a course, I might get a C or a B, and if I liked the course, I got an A.
Oh, okay. Did you have any siblings?
Yes, I had a sister who died when she was 26.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
No, that's tragic. And your
it was
parents raised up a nice son here?
Well, they tried.
Okay. I appreciate honesty.
They did a great job, and I tested them. I did.
Understand. I know how you are as a friend, and I respect that. We've had some great discussions. Now, where did you want to go to school, and where did you go to school?
Well, I ended up going to Ohio University. I got an athletic scholarship. I was recruited by Yale. I was recruited by a whole bunch of different ones, and that's where I ended up.
Yeah, and they're very well known. I've had friends, family, and other people I've known over the years go there and talk about the academics there and even some sports.
It was a good school. I really enjoyed my time there as well. Made a lot of friends.
Sure. How can you not?
Yeah. It was really cool. So
nice.
Yeah, great experiences.
That is great. And I know you do ministry and other things to inspire people and teach them. When did you start doing that?
Well, I became a Christian in high school through an organization called Young Life.
Wow.
And then I went on student staff, and I started what they call a Young Life Club in Athens, Ohio.
You stepped up to be a leader.
Yeah, and then I went on full-time staff for a number of years before I came out.
So you're
and went back
inspired
into
by
business.
God throughout all this.
Yeah.
I respect that and appreciate it.
Yeah. And he's been so good.
Right.
In spite of me, because I've made way too many mistakes.
Well, this is why I bring people on like Andre to show whatever troubles or problems you have, you can overcome them by just believing in God and having faith.
Well, it is so important, and it's one of the things that's missing in so much of the world today.
Yes.
And why we've got so much conflict, I believe, is that God is a peacemaker, and He blesses peacemakers. And He wants us to love each other. He doesn't want us smacking each other upside the head every day and insulting each other and doing all these things. And so, that's been my guideline, is even when I'm critical, I try to do so in a constructive way as opposed to a destructive way, which is what's going on. And so I learned that at an early age, and I'm very thankful.
No, and I know that talking to you, I hope you're inspired like I am, being Andre's friend. Because no matter what we talk, I have an inspiration because he tells true and great and even biblical stories to me many a time. Just the other day, we had a short conversation of 58 minutes. So, and it was just talking about this show and, you know, things like that. So,
well, you do such a good thing. I mean, you're just a great person, Alan.
Thank you very much. No, I appreciate it. Thank you again. And we're going to carry on. So now you're having success in college and everything as a swimmer, and you're doing your ministry and being a leader, and you're doing all these things.
Yeah.
And what were you planning on being in life?
Well, I was an art major.
No way.
Yeah. So I had done all sorts of things to sort of try to earn money, from painting and illustration and design and acting and music. I was in bands. And I found out why they called us starving artists.
Yes, yes, very true. What instruments did you play?
I play guitar.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's great.
Play guitar and then sing. And, you know, my wife and I do that for the church.
I was just going to say, touch on that you're doing that.
And occasionally we'll run out to karaoke or do something else with somebody else and have some fun. So I've done a lot of things, but I had to get a real job.
Right.
After, you know, starving for a while and having kids, I
realized,
all right,
inspire me. What was the real job?
Well, the real job was in the financial world.
Whoa.
and
From
I found
artist to financial.
Yeah, but I found out something really cool about my brain, is that I am able to visualize money.
Yeah.
And visualize what's going on almost from an artistic standpoint.
Wow.
So I love graphs, I love charts.
Right.
All of those things, and I was able to program spreadsheets and everything because it just fit my mind. I had a high math quotient on my SATs,
right,
but I didn't really use it because I didn't like math courses, and I realized that so often great things are taught in a boring manner.
Yes.
And I had to relearn a whole bunch of stuff.
So you had to learn patience where you didn't have it.
Well, I guess so.
In a sense, how I look at it. That's how I'm looking at it as an outsider.
Yeah, I have to have patience. God has patience with me, so I try to have patience with other people.
See, I was born with patience.
Yeah.
I can outweight anybody. God blessed me with that as a kid. It's unusual.
Well, I think it was the Archie Bunker show that had the greatest line with that. When I think his wife said, "Archie, I think you've got a lot of patience. You don't use any of it."
I remember those days. All in the Family. Great show.
I love quotes like that because they just stick in my head.
Oh, yeah. They're permanent. We only got about a minute left. And before we bring your wife on and we talk about interracial marriage, what do you want to say to inspire somebody about financial things?
Well,
in a short clip, because he could go on for a long time.
Yeah, you know, when it comes to finances, you know, you want to be very careful. You want to be a good steward. You want to take what you have and make it grow and use it wisely, not just for yourself, but for other people. And so that's why we have economics. That's an exchange of value that we have with other people. And if we understood that on a day-to-day basis, that's what the economy is, I think we'd all get along better.
Can you go into some details on what you would do for like an average bloke like me?
Well, an average bloke, I wouldn't say that you're that.
Okay, well,
average you're not.
Well, thank you.
But for most people,
yes,
you want to start with the most important rate of all. And this is one of the things I talk about when I give my
That's why I want to get this
there.
out, yes.
Do you know what the most important rate is for finances?
I don't know.
It's the rate of discipline.
Whoa, I like that.
Because many of us are not disciplined as we should be with our finances, whether it's budgets or whatever.
Sure.
You always want to spend less than you make.
Right.
And you always want to be putting some aside.
Let me interrupt you. Mm-hmm. This is a common sense approach. With common sense is so rare, truly rare nowadays. So listen closely.
Yeah.
Carry on with that.
Well,
yes.
I gave a speech in May to a national convention of advisors sponsored
Okay.
by Investment News Magazine.
All right.
And I had all these graphs up there, and one of the graphs I had, and I won't go into all the detail,
Okay.
was on the national debt ratios. And my next slide was up there. I said, what about the Joseph principle?
Oh, okay.
And they went sort of like, and I said, yeah, you remember that slave in Egypt that got the ear of Pharaoh, and he had wisdom?
I remember.
And Pharaoh was smart enough to listen and take the wisdom and take that recommendation, which was bad times are going to come.
Wow.
Therefore, start a storehouse to save what you need so you have resources when the bad times come.
Thanks for getting biblical Old Testament Bible right now.
Yeah. And we're in violation of that principle nationally.
Yes.
And we're also, most people are in violation of that principle in their personal finances.
Oh, I couldn't agree more.
And it's one reason why I think we've got so much financial stress today
Yeah.
is because of the debt. You want to be debt-free. Oh,
Right.
no man anything except to love him is where you want to be. That's from the New Testament.
Well, not to get too crazy, but when people can borrow on their houses and get mortgages of 2 or 3%, people are telling them buy 3 or 4 times what you would normally buy.
Well, not anymore.
Well, that ended just recently.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying the general thing is they've always said growing up, I'm a little younger than you, they would say if you have debt, that's good. You could write it off then, and then they changed laws. So they were always promoting debt.
2 types of debt. One is debilitating debt. That's where you buy things that depreciate in value.
A car?
By bearing. Yeah, I always buy cash cars and used cars. I did a study about 15 years ago or so where I
Right.
compared buying a new car, like say $24,000, or a used car at $12,000 that had 2 years on it and 70% of the mileage left.
Right.
You had enough cash to buy the used car
And still some warranty.
instead of borrowing for the used car. I put the difference of cash flows into the S&P 500, traded in the cars every 5 years, more expense for the used cars,
Right.
and I did that for 30 years. You know what the difference in net worth was?
Tell me.
About $400,000 in net worth. I called it the $400,000 car.
Now, this is something that Andre's so wise that you got to listen to. Look at what you normally do. They teach you, here's a $129 a month lease car
Well,
and other things like that.
Yeah.
And he's telling you some simple plan. You're also an investor too, so your own
Yes.
money is put at risk.
Oh yeah, yeah, and I do this for clients. They're planning, and I give them, I manage their portfolios and all of that, and I tell them all these principles.
Right.
The second type of debt is what's called leverage,
Okay.
and that's where you use debt wisely in something that increases in value. So buying a home the right way
Right.
and having a reasonable mortgage is not a terrible thing, but your end goal is that at some point, and sooner than better, is to owe nothing. And the second type of debt can be used in businesses.
Sure.
So if you're an entrepreneur, and let's say you have a store and you need you need to
place.
have a place and you
Right.
need inventory. You oftentimes have to have a revolving financing of inventory
Good points.
just to keep business moving.
Right.
That's leverage. That's okay, but again, you need to be very careful because some businesses have gone out of business because they've had too much debt.
Well, I got a little story to show that I was a little more advanced, like you said. Before my 21st birthday, I bought a 3-story building in Carrick that had a bar and 2 apartments. And friends of mine at work go, "What are you doing buying a building? You moving out of your house?" I go, "I live at Hotel Levine. I got a mother and 3 sisters. I don't have to clean or cook. All I got to do is take my mother and save my dad a trip to take her shopping or whatever else." So I did that right before my 21st birthday. And my dad came up to me, and you'll like this. He's an average blue-collar guy, my hero, legendary guy. He goes, "When you moving out?" I told him the same story. He goes, "Alan, are you crazy?" I go, "No, that's passive income, Dad." and he never heard of it.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, he was so proud of me. He goes, well, you do what you think is right. He trusted me.
Well,
So,
see, there you go.
yeah, but just little things that people miss, especially in this day and age, because you're doing it, you've done it your whole career since you got into wealth management. You've been investing.
Yeah. And I've
You
been
practice
an
what
entrepreneur.
you preach. What
Yeah.
I'm trying to put out, this isn't a promo just for Andre. It's to inspire others that if you learn it, like I read about real estate, I read about
Yes.
investing in stocks and things, and did it, you know, when you weren't even supposed to. You couldn't have a stock account at 21 till 21. At 18, I coerced my dad to open accounts and put my money in.
You were a very bright young man.
Yeah, so
You had wisdom early.
I've been solely blessed with that, and I made profits, and I did lose at times,
Yeah.
but I learned from everything. Being a
That's it.
sports guy, you just don't learn from winning.
No.
I've learned more from losing.
Oh, the
top
failures
of
are the
that.
great teachers, and I've had many of them. I
Right.
mean, I've started, you know, my wife started a business that COVID killed, you know, the
Right.
travel business. I started other businesses and had other investments that haven't gone the
Right.
way they were planned.
Well, here's the
So-
thing, and I respect it because I'm like you, that I'm not afraid to take a chance, and if it doesn't work out, it's not meant to work out. If I take a chance, God is great, and it works, it's meant to be.
Yeah. And if you do it honestly and you do it, you know, you've got to have some trials and failures or you don't learn.
Right.
You know?
Like I've told people, if you always win, you won't know how to handle a loss.
That's right.
And then when you lose, you appreciate the wins even much more. So that's why we're both blessed in what we've been able to do. And to have you on the show has been my honor to have you on.
More so mine.
And what do you want to close out with?
Well, I guess the best thing that I can say is that life is an adventure. It's never going to be easy, and it's rarely going to be exactly the way you mapped it out. But there is a proverb,
Go
and I
ahead.
love it. It's my favorite one. It says, "A man's mind plans his way, but the Lord guides his steps." And I take that, and what I always told my kids
Yeah.
is only a moving ship can be steered.
Wow.
If you sit there and in fear
You
and
do
don't
nothing.
do anything, guess what? You get nothing. You have to risk. You have to be out there. You have to be in motion so
Right.
you can be guided, and you have to be in motion to accomplish anything, and that's how you find what your purpose is.
On that note, tell them the business you're in so they can get a hold of you there.
Well, I got two things. You can go to qfainc.com, qfainc.com.
Yeah.
You can also go to speakerandre.com, SPEAKER, Andre, ANDRE.com. And that'll give you my background and a lot of things like that if you're interested.
No, thank you for being such a great guest. Hope you picked up some of this wisdom and you just know how to contact them. And we're going to bring Shonda on and they're going to talk about their interracial marriage. All right, Andre, we're going to bring your beautiful wife, Shonda, on and talk about interracial marriage. You told me you met Andre, his middle name Andre, in 2006 on something called MySpace.
Yep.
Then what happened?
Well, we talked on camera for quite a while. And then one day we was getting off. He had met all my children and everything. I thought he was the coolest guy. Being from, real quick, from Louisiana,
You can say that all throughout the show.
Yeah, being from Louisiana, I didn't know a whole lot about the upper, like the north. And so when I thought of Pennsylvania, I'll never forget thinking Transylvania. So when I saw him, it was so hard to understand
That's hilarious.
where he was. So it was really, I was intrigued to meet him. But one day we were getting off the
Whatever the thing was.
our communication thing. And he did this little face at me, and I was like, I would never date this guy. And then before I know, we were dating, and it's been history, great history. He whisked me off my feet, literally.
This is a great story. For all you ladies and guys that need an inspiration, that's inspirational to me.
Yep, he did.
And when did you get married?
In 2011.
We're not counting.
Well, I just asked these questions because I met you in 2012 for the Hugathon.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how long you were married and all that other stuff. And you just made a great couple, a great impression on me, both of you, individually and together. And that's why I have you on, because I always share this, not in a mean way, but I was born in the Hill District. And if you say that, they think you had to be black. Well, I was born in 1956, 105 Pride Street. Now that's Mercy Hospital's ER. And I deal with a lot of different people with sports. And they go, you must be a bad man to have grown up there. I go, well, I grew up in Lily White Braintree.
Yeah.
But my dad, we'd go back to the Hill District in the 60s until the riots and the place got decimated and the Civic Arena was built. And he'd always introduce me to his friends. I didn't know if they were black, Polish, Hungarian, Italian,
nice?
Jewish. I didn't know. I just knew they were my dad's friends.
And that's how it should be.
And I've been fascinated with different cultures and different types of people, just in my travels around the world, or just in the ministry that I was in.
Sure.
I can't get enough of the different kinds of people because they teach me and they just warm me, because it's like, hey, here's God's creation, and He doesn't make flowers of all one color.
Right.
No, and me being a huge history guy and growing up where I did and being exposed to all these things, and then being in a workplace with 200 some guys, and we had over 20 black guys working with us, which was unusual. All the 11, 12 other unions were mostly lily white, as the offices at the Pittsburgh Press. The EEOC came in to sue because somebody sued. Our union was the only one to win our case, because our percentage was higher. And I have friends, one of my best friends, I'll never forget, he was like 5'5", a black gentleman named Keith Allen, Allen, like me, Williams. He was born exactly 1 year before me, June 30th, 1955. And we hit it off. That's why God's great. Who knew?
I know.
Just
and
something like
we
that.
didn't meet on a dating site. We weren't trying to date. And I sometimes think the best relationships are the ones that just develop, and then all of a sudden you say, hey, I really like this person. Let's get together. And,
I understand. That's why it's so cool, and I'm blessed by God to meet both of you and be friends with you. So I had to have you on the show. You had to wait, because I told you I had a list of 50-plus people. And you're in here today, and we're just talking about this. And what were your thoughts about, being an interracial marriage?
That's a good question. I'll never forget when we moved up to New Concord, and I had already prayed to God, but I was really having this thought. I don't know who I would meet, right? So as far as color, it didn't matter. He needed to be a man that loved God first and would love me along with my children as one, not just,
and that's your thoughts
us.
Going into anything, just
right.
life.
Well, with us, because I didn't know who I was going to meet.
Specifically, yes.
Well, I didn't know who I was going to meet, so that was my blanket, to cover my relationship, letting God know it didn't matter who He put with me, long as He picked them for me. So
you trusted God.
I did.
And it proves that God has a sense of humor.
Right.
Yes. Especially your sense of humor.
Right.
Yes.
Right. And so I met him. We ended up meeting. And I'll never forget, I was attracted to his mind. Andre has a great mind. I could just dial in and say, babe, what's this? What's that? But I'll tell you, when I got in his car, I act like I knew. I act like I had been in that car before. He had this little Spider. I didn't even know it was called a Spider.
Right.
I got in there. He took me to the movies. I didn't know he had set up a whole date.
Wow.
So after eating, we went to the movies, and the movie that was playing was Santa Claus 3.
No way.
Yes, Santa Claus 3.
It's a great romantic
And
movie.
so my feet were so cold.
I think it's the opposite.
Look, my feet were so cold, and I was trying to sit there all prissy, right? And he told me his little story about a brick under the bed, and he told me, I'm a brick warmer. And so he actually warmed my feet, and he didn't even know me that well, but it was just really romantic.
Wow.
And
Thank you for sharing this.
And his music too that he played, which is what we talked about, the culture.
Right.
His music was not just normal music, it was all cultures, and that was attractive too, because he's
Sure.
that guy.
Well, I could understand just with his brain. because our minimum conversation time is about 57 minutes. Because we can both talk and we both know stuff.
Right. Well, he's definitely. Well, that's the main. That's what attracted me to him. Is he knew so
Wow,
much.
that is so cool. Thank you for sharing that. I knew we'd go deep, but you went there.
Yeah.
And this is for others out there to trust in God, trust your gut, and have an open mind.
Definitely have.
That's
an
part of
open
my
mind.
theme here.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love
it's
God,
so
love
important.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
what were
unfortunately,
your
there's some-
thoughts, Andre? We got to go deep on this. I know you're there already.
Yeah.
So
Like I said, we weren't. The objective wasn't dating. I just sort of saw her, when I was, some of the people came up, and I just introduced myself and said, "Hey,
well, here's
love
what
to
I'm
talk."
getting out of it. You were just looking for a friend to talk to.
He
Yeah,
was.
yeah. And I made
boiling
friends.
it down, yes.
Yeah, one of the great things about the internet was I was able to make friends in different parts of the world and still have them.
Amen, brother.
Yeah.
Me
But
too.
he saw me.
And
that-
then she becomes, a real.
Well, I got to
online
interrupt
friend.
you. I consider Shonda a beautiful woman.
Thank
I'm
you,
sure that
Alan.
thought came up with you.
Thank you, Alan.
It doesn't hurt.
That's his humor, folks.
But I liked her mind and her spirit and, her story.
Right.
She fought through so many things. I mean, this is a strong, beautiful, courageous woman
Thank you.
who has accomplished more than most people would in the face of adversity.
And that's why you made it onto the Talking Machine show. Do you have any advice to give in, say, like 30 seconds, like a general thing that you'd give advice to anybody?
I would say, like you said earlier, be open-minded, trust God, number one, be open-minded, and go on an adventure, because that's what marriage is. People think it's something else. It's really an adventure. We don't even hardly argue. Can I just say this?
Yes.
So
we still got time.
I saw Clooney. That's his name, George.
George.
Yeah, and his wife, and they think celebrities have it all made, but they really don't. But I
Right.
love that they've been married 8 years.
Yeah.
And they hadn't argued
Different
ever.
backgrounds and everything.
But they have the same kind of relationship. They found they mate, and it just works.
No, that is great. I hope you were all listening. I'm hoping this will inspire you. Andre, any closing words, which I know you can handle?
Yes. Be of love, a little more careful than of everything.
Thank you for being a great guest. Thank all of you for watching another great show here. And we'll be coming up with our 38th show in a couple weeks.
Congratulations and thank you.
You're welcome.